Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little education. More specifically, we'll get into the ins and outs of education. That we have a real live professional educator on this week's episode, a fellow alum from South Carolina State University. My girl, Ro Jack, is in the building. Ro, what up?
What's up, Kyle? How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to have you on here. It is an honor and a pleasure.
Glad to be here.
Now, I'm going to need you, before we get started, I'm going to need you to stand up a little bit and show off your shirt for those.
Representing for South Carolina State all day, every day. Y'all see it?
South Carolina State University alumni.
All day.
All day.
All day. Get up for the Bulldogs.
That's right. So we are both proud alums from South Carolina State University. We were talking before we got on the air. You were we were in school at the same time. Yeah. But you were an education major. I was a business major. So let's start there. What made you want to get into education? Because we had, growing up, we looked up to teachers, obviously. What made you want to get into education?
Well, what made me want to get into education is many, many layers. I was a young mom. Okay. And so I knew that in order to do something different and not go down that trajectory in life, I need to do something different. And going to college was the number one thing to do. I had a lot of Black educators growing up, and they did fairly well in life. So I figured that would be okay. Then for a brief second, I said, no, I'm going to go into nursing. But that anatomy,
a little difficult.
That let me know I need to go back into education. And I used to work at Boys and Girls Clubs and daycare centers growing up. So helping kids, it was kind of in the blood. I used to help my aunts with their kids and little cousins and stuff. So it was kind of in the blood.
Okay. Now, one thing I always ask people when they come on the podcast, particularly if they're an alum, why did you choose South Carolina State University?
Oh, I chose South Carolina State University because that's where my teachers went. They either went to South Carolina State or they went to Claflin. Okay. So South Carolina State, when I did the visit and went up there, I was like, yeah, this is it for me. This is where I'm coming.
Okay. Now where are you from originally?
Hilton Head Island.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So you got money?
No. No, not me. Them. Not me.
Oh, they got money.
They got the money.
Hilton Head is a beautiful place. Beautiful place.
That's what I hear. It's pretty cool. When it's home, it's different.
Right.
You see it differently.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
That's home for me. I've seen the island grow and change. Mm-hmm. It was nice growing up and being 15 minutes from a beach.
Right.
But the history of Hilton Head, a lot of people don't know, is at the end of the Civil War, when they said give the slaves the 40 acres and a mule, the Union Army did.
Really?
So it was a base for the Union Army at the time. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of Black slave owners got that land. And our ancestors were there for many, many, many years until some developers realized that we were there with beachfront property. And, hey, we should put some hotels and resorts and condos here. And they offered pennies on a dollar for the land. And unfortunately, our ancestors didn't know exactly what the value of the land was then. And that's how it started to develop in the 60s and 70s. But yeah, we were one of the few people that got the 40 acres in a mule.
Wow. Yeah. And that's crazy because I'm from Florence, South Carolina. And like I said, I attended South Carolina State University, and that's news to me. I never heard that story before. I had no idea.
A lot of people have not. It's so funny going to South Carolina State, being from Hilton Head. It kind of sounded like I was from Charleston. Right. So it was like, what island you from? I'm not from the Bahamas. I'm not from Jamaica. You from Charleston? No, I'm not. I'm Gullah. I'm Geechee, and that's okay.
Right. I was going, because that's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say you're from Charleston.
I used to get that all the time. All the time. Because you don't Bahamas or Jamaica.
You don't I just don't remember running into a lot of Black people from Hilton Head. Like, it was always seemed to be, at least in my mind, a resort place. And then once we got a chance to visit, I think we we did a family vacation there back in 2007, and it was beautiful. I mean, like we had so much fun, and it's funny because it's like our family, the kids were like, they were so much younger, and so like it was the last couple of years they've been like, hey, can we do another family vacation in Hilton Head?
Oh, that's sweet.
Like, no. Like, no, we can go to College Park, but we're not going to Hilton Head again. But that's great. That's great. I'm glad that so how, I guess the next question I have for you as far as like education, how important was it? Was it something that was stressed in your house when you were growing up, or was it something you kind of gravitated towards? And what kind of student were you?
I always see my mother reading.
Okay.
Be it the Essence magazines, Ebony magazine, Jet magazines. We had all the magazines, and she also was a reader of those, I guess Jackie Collins type romance novels back in the day. We always had books. We had the encyclopedia, the old school, the man come with 1,000 encyclopedia books. We had those, so education was very important in our household, and we also would go to an after school program where we had those ladies, really was like, y'all got to do this work, y'all got to make us proud. And some of them actually, because Hilton Head is very close to Savannah, it's like 45 minutes from Savannah. And one of the ladies was marching with King when he would come to Savannah in the 60s. So she would always instill in us, y'all got to get this, y'all got to do it, we fought for y'all to get y'all education, so we have to be better than the next generation and take advantage of the education that y'all are getting here that we fought for.
Okay. Now, once you got to South Carolina State University, we were talking earlier before we got on air, Turner Hall, education building. I spent I had a couple of classes in there, and I had fun in those classes, but I was thankful that I didn't have a lot of classes. It's not an easy, even though we produce a lot of educators, it's not an easy department to get through. What was the most fun in that department did you had, and then the most challenging class that you had?
Well, I want to say not fun per se, but I do still have friends from that's still teachers, they're counselors, principals now, that we are still connected 30 plus years later because we are in the education field and we went through Turner Hall together, had to do internships at Felton Lab or, go to that school and learn about the ins and outs. And we had to shadow different teachers and see what they do to learn how to be a good teacher. At one point in the 90s, South Carolina State was producing the most teachers in the state.
Wow.
In it, that we were pumping them out. Mm-hmm. We would have graduate 300-400 teachers. So that was a lot. Now, unfortunately, because things have changed, times have changed, the numbers have dwindling, and a lot of college students are not going into the profession. But during the 90s, when I was there, we were the number one producer of teachers in the state over, them two other schools.
There are no other schools.
I'm just putting it out there in case somebody wants to say
that's
something.
Amazing. I mean, to hear that, I knew that we produced a lot of educators. I didn't know that it was at that volume.
Yeah.
So what was the most challenging class in Turner Hall when you were there?
It wasn't per se challenging, but we had a teacher, I cannot remember her name. She was serious about her profession. Mm-hmm. She was a perfectionist. So we would have to go up into the class and like mimic, writing on the board and turning and teaching. She literally went up there behind a young lady and erased everything off the board. We were sitting there like, oh,
wow,
this is not how you write on the board. What is this? This is not good penmanship. You will not go out there and have this stuff written on the board like this.
Wow. And
she wrote it nice and neat, nice in shapes, the letters, everything was perfect. Mm-hmm. This is how you're supposed to write on the board. She did not play. She took her job seriously. And that let us know that we have to take this seriously. We're not here playing games. We getting this degree that we pay good, hard student loan money for.
Right.
And do it right when you go out because you're representing South Carolina State University as an educator in society. She did not play with us. She did not play with us.
Love to hear stories like that. Yes. Love. I mean, and I tell people all the time, and we've mentioned it before in the podcast, like there's a level at most HBCUs, I would venture to say all HBCUs where there's a bunch of people, the educators, all the way down to the faculty staff, to the, custodial staff, those people are vested in seeing you graduate. Like
Right.
they're going to do any and everything they can to help you get to that point. And
Correct.
not stand in your way. And anything they can do, they'll help. As long as they see that you're progressing and you're trying to, to get to that degree.
Correct.
So going through Turner Hall, then you finally graduate. What was the post-graduation like as far as like what I guess your plans as far as what you wanted to do coming out? Did you go the way that you wanted to go, or you just kind of drifted like some of us did?
Drifted a little bit, but the first couple years of teaching was rough because
Okay.
now your students are really your students. There's no mentor, there's no internship. When you do your student teaching, someone is there, you shadow them for a couple months, then they're yours, but you also always had somebody to lean back on. Those little kids are yours now. They got to do what you said to do. You had to have a plan. You had to have a strong rules and consequences. You had to follow through. You had to know when to be tough. You had to know when to give tough love. You have to know when to give the hugs and deal with the crying, and you just had to know how to balance it all. So the first couple years were kind of rough out there by yourself.
Did you ever in those rough times, did you ever think about getting out of it?
Absolutely.
She said it with a straight face, y'all.
Absolutely. What did I do? Why is he crying again? I
Right.
don't understand. Why couldn't he stop crying?
So what grades were you teaching at that point?
Oh, I think it was first.
Oh, wow.
The little kids.
Babies.
The little ones and babies, yeah. I started in elementary school for 8 years, and then I went to middle school for almost 20, and then now I'm back in elementary school.
Really? So is there a preference as far as middle school or elementary school?
Now that I'm back in elementary, I appreciate elementary more.
Really? Okay.
Yes, because with middle school, the hormones, the attitudes.
You remember those days? We were like that. Okay, so how different are kids today? Because you and I are the same age.
Mm-hmm.
How different are kids, now as opposed to in elementary school, as opposed to how we were in the 80s?
To me, when we were coming up, and I know for us, our parents were very heavily involved.
Right.
The community was involved. It really was. It takes a village. There's no village now. Miss Mary got a problem with you talking to her child. Miss Susie got a problem with you talking to her child, and they're neighbors. In the same community, in the same area. They don't want you to discipline or talk to their kid in any way, shape, or form. Ma'am, I'm your child's teacher. I'm not here to hurt your child. I'm here to tell you what your child did or said in the school. Your child threw a book at me. I need to tell you that your child threw a book at me. Well, he said you made him mad. That's why he threw the book. What you said to make him mad. Ma'am, this is my classroom. And you believe him? Your child has had a history of having anger management issues and throwing things. Well, he said, you said, and I believe him every time. Back then, when we was growing up, our parents automatically believed the teacher.
Of course. Yes.
If the teacher said Johnny threw the book, Johnny threw the book.
He threw the book. And
that's
there's going to be somebody snitching too. Oh, yeah, I saw him throw the book.
I see him through the book. Miss Jackson just told him stop sleeping in class, and he threw the book at the back of her head.
Right.
Nowadays, they don't believe nothing. A lot of them don't want you to discipline, talk to their kids. Don't tell them nothing. Kids will even tell you can call my mama, she ain't gonna do nothing.
Wow.
You can call her, she don't care.
Yeah,
So
but if they don't get disciplined in school, then where do they get disciplined? I mean, and because they're clearly not getting it at home.
Exactly. Unfortunately, when I taught 8th grade, I used to tell them, you can listen to your parents, me, the principal, whatever teachers you have, or you're going to listen to the police and the judge. The choice is yours. You have to start listening to someone. You just can't do what you want to do every time. And if somebody tells you no, it's okay. I said, I'm not here to hurt you, but you can't do what you want to do all the time.
Right.
There are rules in society that I have to follow as an adult. There's rules in this building as a teacher I have to follow. And it's okay. You can't just do whatever you want to do all the time. It's okay for somebody to tell no, and you get corrected. A lot of the kids don't want to be corrected anymore. They think their way is always right.
Wow.
Sir, 9 times 9 is not 6.
It's never been.
It's never been. It's
And
never,
it
no
never
way.
will be.
It never will be. I'm just trying to help you to understand why 9 times 9 is 81.
Oh my God.
But you want to argue me down about every little thing. Okay, no problem.
That's crazy.
So that's what I've noticed the biggest difference of. We don't have a community amongst ourselves with parents supporting schools, supporting administration like we used to have back in the day. There's no longer it takes a village mentality. Don't talk to my child like that. Ma'am, your child is running down the hallway and slapped 3 people. What do you mean? He said, okay.
It's funny. I literally just saw a story yesterday on the news. Unfortunately, it happened in my high school at Wilson High School in Florence, South Carolina, and it was a situation where a kid was vaping, and they were vaping in the bathroom, and they had some type of reaction or whatever like that. And so they had to take the child to the emergency room. He was fine or whatever like that. And obviously they suspended him for, vaping at school. And the mother, who was eventually interviewed, she said, I agree with them suspending him, but, somebody should have been monitoring the bathroom to prevent him from vaping in the bathroom. And I'm like, lady, do you hear what you just said? Like, first of all, if you can't have somebody monitoring, you can't have cameras in the bathroom. I don't know if you
adult,
I don't know if you
want an adult in the bathroom with the kids.
Right. That ain't gonna play in no place. It's not gonna work. Nowhere. And it's almost like, she understood to some degree, but she also wasn't taking responsibility to say, hey, I'm a parent, because trust me, what I took from the story was, if the kid's vaping at school, he's probably vaping at home as well. So, dealing with discipline issues in the educational system, obviously that's something that it kind of comes with the territory, comes with the job. How has discipline, or being able to discipline children in the educational system, changed over the years?
It's become a little tougher. Because there are so many steps now that we have to go through in order to, let's say, suspend the child.
Right.
If let's say Timmy and Bobby were in a fight. What caused the fight? Did they talk to the counselor ahead of time? Who knows their history, their record? Is Timmy always an aggressor? Did Bobby push him? And we have to follow a lot of steps, a lot of times, to get kids in ISS or OSS now. Wow. Whereas in the past, you go home for 2 or 3 days.
Is a given.
That's it. It's a given. Now there are a lot more steps in the process to see what can we do to help them. Were any steps in place throughout the school year that could have prevented this? Was he in any type of program, mentorship? What is going on in his home life? The mama feels though he is justified. So now that could be an issue with, instead of 3 days at home, maybe 1 day at home, 2 days ISS, maybe no days at home. It's becoming a lot more difficult.
Wow.
It's becoming a lot more difficult.
It's funny because I had one of my best friends who's also an SC State alum, teaches here in Metro Atlanta. And he was telling me, like, he had this one kid, he teaches high school. And he had this one kid that missed 45 days. And he was like, I was like, so you gonna give him an F, right? He was like, no. I was like, what you mean? He's like, you can't fail him.
Can't fail him.
I was like, so wait a minute. I was like, so if you got 180 days to go to school and 45, you got 45 unexcused absences. Yep. You still got to pass this kid? He's like, yeah. Yep. That's crazy to me.
It has changed so much because back in the day, you missed was it 10 days or something
10 days. Yeah, you could only get 10 unexcused absences.
That was it.
You fail that grade.
Not anymore. You can't fail them. You can't give them, some districts, I'm not going to call any names, you can't give below a 50. You can't get zeros.
What?
There's a no zero policy in some school districts.
Man. So if I don't do my homework, I still get a 50. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I pass.
And you pass. Because they feel as though if you get a 0, it's harder to pull it up and help them pass. At least if they got a 50, they could do some of the work to help them pass and get over that 70 hump.
Yeah, but if I didn't do the work in the beginning to get the 0, to get the 50, then what makes you think I'm gonna do the work even more now going forward?
Correct. And a lot of kids have figured this system out.
Of course.
A lot of kids have figured the system out.
Wow.
So they take advantage. And they know that a lot of parents are going to support the foolishness.
Of course.
So,
one of the questions I always ask educators, how was COVID? Teaching through COVID? Because I think that year that time frame where schools shut down and parents had to have their kids in their homes and they had to kind of educate them themselves, it was a lot of parents that realized, like, teachers need to be paid $500,000 a year, everybody across the board, because there's no amount of money that you could pay. Here's the thing. I got my own kids. It was hard enough for me dealing with them, let alone if you got 30 other kids in a room and, everybody's bouncing off the wall but being at home, going through that process, and then going from being online to being back in the classroom. What was that like? Are you feeling nostalgic for the golden eras of rap and soul music? If so, tune in to the Rap Soul Podcast. We are your weekly journey through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, spotlighting the music and the hidden gems that shaped the soundtrack of our lives. From the powerful beats to the soulful melodies, we bring you the best of the past with fresh insights and stories. Rediscover the music that defined a generation. Subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast and enjoy the vibes. If you want a podcast where culture, conversation, and life collide, where you get insightful commentary, engaging discussions, and a fresh perspective on everything, then you need to listen to the 12 Kyle podcast, hosted by the one and only, yours truly, 12 Kyle, a voice that you know and trust. This podcast will bring you thought-provoking moments, compelling stories, and a whole lot of fun. Whether you're a first-time listener or just tuning in, each episode promises to be something new and exciting. So sit back, relax, join 12 Kyle, myself, and my guests as we break down the world around us and give you stories that you've never heard before, from nostalgic throwbacks to everything in between. The 12 Kyle podcast is a front row seat to this conversation. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of the 12 Kyle podcast, where the vibe is always real and the discussion is always worth your time. For COVID, because I know it
was the craziest time period I've ever been in education.
Wow.
Because it happened so abruptly. Mm-hmm. Because you heard the thing on the news about COVID, what is it? It's slowly, leaking out of China, Japan. I forgot which one it was. And then it's in the US, it's in New York, it's in California. Mm-hmm. We still don't know all the ins and outs of it. It was just happening so fast. And then it was in Atlanta.
Right.
It's like, oh.
And then we shut down.
Then shut it down. Like a week later, it was done. It was like March 12th or 13th or something like that. And it was done. We were walking around, didn't know what was about to happen, what is going to happen with the kids. Everybody's scared. We start wearing the mask and, we just don't know. And then shut down, no more school. We went to school that Friday and that was it.
That was it. Yep.
It was scary. Because we didn't know what to come. The district, nobody, not even our district, but nobody knew what to do. Mm-hmm. We weren't an online platform for elementary, middle, and high school. You may have a few classes in high school, but now you're talking about kindergartners online for 6 hours.
Right.
That's crazy. So it was a lot of uncertainty during that beginning phase of the era. Like, what are we going to do? We just can't, of course, parents are like, what are we going to do with these kids home all day?
Right.
Because before they shut everything down, the kids were home. Mm-hmm. Now we still got some parents going to school, going to work. Now we got the first responders. Now everything is shut down. The kids are home. Parents are home. What are we going to do all day for 6 or 8 hours? Normally my kid is gone, but now I got to feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I can't go to Walmart, or I can only go to Walmart. It was a lot. It was a lot. My two boys were in high school. I'm like, ooh.
Well, you know what's interesting? We had one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary school. And I looking back on it, they adjusted pretty well. And because they're pretty good students. Well, I'm not gonna say pretty. They're really good students. And they adjusted well, but it's just trying to make sure that they stay focused throughout the whole time. Because after a while, it got to a point where they were like, "Okay, I got my work done. It's 12 o'clock. Why can't I play video games?" I'm like, "No, you still got work to do. You're still in a class." "No, well, we don't have to report back anymore today." And I'm like, "What do you mean you ain't got to report back?" So and fortunately, I feel blessed the fact that I was working from home at the time, and my wife was working from home. So it wasn't a huge adjustment. It was just the fact that we were all home at the same time, we had never been like that. But what about the people who didn't have computers? What about the people who didn't have high speed internet? What about the kids who really benefit from being in a classroom as opposed to being online?
Because those were major adjustments that we had to. I was in DeKalb at the time, and we started getting a lot of emails and phone calls. The school district had to provide laptops and did have to provide high speed internet, and had little Zoom or Microsoft Teams sessions on how to do a lot of that, because again, it was so new for us. You may have a meeting here or there on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, but teach a whole class out of the blue. Here, this is what we're about to do. So we were learning. A lot of us were learning it as we were teaching it.
Right.
Like if you get on Microsoft Teams and navigate the classes, how do you make the windows? How do you go into breakout sessions? How do you keep them engaged? You would hear kids snoring. You would hear the mama being the mama in the background.
Right.
Another kid in another class. So like you said, you had elementary, middle, and high. So they're online all three at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So how, certain families may not have a nice size home. They might all in one apartment, sharing the kitchen, the living room, a bedroom, and you can hear them in different classes at the same time. You got to tell them, "Okay, Michael, I need you to mute it. I can hear your mama cooking breakfast." Okay, excuse me, can you tell your brother to pull up his pants? And,
right.
It was a lot to go on, but after, I want to say the first couple months, it balanced out, because we had to learn the rhythm and how to navigate with the technology that we had and get the kids and parents comfortable as well, because it was new for everybody.
Right.
It was new for all of us, because I've never taught an online class to middle school kids.
Okay.
We may have a meeting here or there, but okay, now you got to teach your ELA, your reading through this, and make sure it's engaging and the kids like it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And and you don't know what they got. Like you said, we were fortunate that we had everybody's in a different room, and doors could be closed, and so it didn't sound like that. But I mean, if you literally got 4 kids or 3 kids sitting at a kitchen table all trying to study and trying to get work done, it could have been it was a lot.
Right.
So my next question about that is, like, there's a big, and we don't know the fallout from that particular era of time. But there's a thought that some kids really and truly fell behind because of COVID. But what's your take on that?
I believe that, because now it's been 5 years.
Okay. Wow.
So it doesn't seem like it.
Crazy, right?
It only seemed like a couple years ago, but it's been 5 years, because that was March of 2020. And some school districts went back in fall of 2020, where some went back in January 2021. So it's really been 5 years at this point. So they are saying that there are a lot of kids that's falling behind and reading below grade level. Wow. And they're contributing it to the COVID period. So if you had a kindergartner at that time that's now in 5th grade, they're saying that a lot of those kids are reading below grade level at the time, because they may not have gotten the foundational skills with the phonics at that time, because your phonics teacher, I don't have a mask with me, but she's teaching you phonics through Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and you got to see the shape of the mouth and hear the sounds through Zoom. That's different than if you're in the classroom with her and all of the things that goes on to teach the kids the sounds, because that's how you learn how to read, is understanding those million sounds in the English language that we have.
Right. Man, that is so true. It's a miracle that we got through it, because
it was a lot.
It was a lot. It truly was a lot. And I can only imagine, just as a parent. And like I said, I learned a lot about what my kids were doing in school just by, watching them online and everything like that. And it's interesting. And I actually want to go back, since both of us grew up in the state of South Carolina. And I tell people this all the time, and it's no knock on the state of South Carolina, but when we were in school from K through 12, South Carolina historically, I don't think was ever higher than 47th in the nation.
They were low.
So how much different, I guess the question I have is, when you compare your education growing up in the state of South Carolina to the education that you teach on a day-to-day basis, how much better is it? I know it's better. How much better is it?
So much has changed with the expectations.
Right.
Because now that I teach second grade, things that I didn't think I would teach in second grade, I am teaching in second grade. Like, we're teaching arrays and multiplication in second grade. Yes.
Word. Wow.
Yes. So I would have never thought when I first started teaching, when we're teaching adding maybe 2-digit numbers, 3-digit numbers, that might have been the cap back then. Now we're doing arrays, multiplication. Now and 2D, we just finished arrays multiplication. Now we're doing 2D and 3D dimensional shapes.
Wow.
It's changed what the expectations and the standards are.
I saw that until like 4th grade.
Right. So they're expecting more from younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's different. They're expecting a lot more from younger kids. But always been my concern, because I've always wanted to work with the struggling readers and kids that, needed a little extra help. How is that helping? How is that putting more on them at a younger age going to help the struggling learners? And I don't think a lot of schools, educators, the powers that be that make the decisions are focused enough on that, because we got too many struggling readers. We have too many kids that don't know how to read, that they cannot sound out words. They don't know phonics. Unfortunately, maybe about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, they started taking phonics out of elementary school. And they do the whole word and no sight words, but they cannot sound out. There's a generation, maybe 2, that cannot sound out words. And unfortunately, those kids had kids. So
that's scary.
It's scary. Because me and a couple of my girlfriends were talking about, how can we help these kids? What's the change? What's different? Why is there so many struggling readers? And I was like, we got to look at it. So, within the conversation, we talked about No Child Left Behind.
Right.
And how when that came around, in the early 2000s, everybody kept getting pushed along, like you said with your friend that teaches high school. Everybody, no matter how good they were, how bad they were, how struggling, they come to school, don't come to school, everybody was pushed along. Those kids having kids now. So you made it out of high school, but
barely.
But now those kids have kids, and they can't help their kids with schoolwork. So, you hear parents are the kids' first teachers.
Yep.
But if the parents are struggling, we are already at a deficit. And now again, like we talked about earlier, what if the parents got an issue with school? Maybe they're still upset with a teacher they had in 6th grade that they didn't like. I don't like Miss Jackson. She make me sick. She get on my nerve. She always did it. So now you got a bad imprint of school for years.
I still have beef with my 2nd grade teacher, Miss James.
Sorry.
I think she was racist.
2nd grade.
2nd grade. Yeah, that's right.
2nd grade.
Because I don't think that lady liked me, and I think I was a likable student. And all my other teachers liked me.
Huh? And unfortunately, I will say there are some bad teachers.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's every profession.
There are some bad teachers out there.
Funny question. Whatever happened to cursive?
They didn't think it was needed anymore. They think it was a waste of time. And unfortunately, when testing became a major priority and we got to have these state tests and we need 80% of the kids to pass the test, the focus shifted a lot from the basic reading, writing, arithmetic to pass the test.
Yeah. So you taught the test. So people had to teach the test.
Teach to the test. We got to get them ready for the test. In the state of Georgia, it starts next week. It starts on Monday. So what have they been doing the past month? Preparing for the state test.
Wow. I miss cursive.
Cursive, the generation needs it.
Yeah.
They cannot sign their name for anything.
And that's the only thing that they should know how to do in cursive, but they can't even do that.
Name. They can't do it. So last year, when I came back down to elementary school, my third graders, they kept asking me, teach your cursive. I said, we'll do it after state testing.
Okay.
After testing, I'll show you how to do it. So as we were wrapping it up, Ms. Jack, you still gonna teach us? I said, yes. So I went on Amazon, bought everybody a book, a little handwriting cursive book, and we would practice it. That they were so excited to learn cursive and how to write their name. I said, that's the least y'all know how to do is write your name.
Mm-hmm.
And we would practice cursive the last month of school.
Cursive.
Yeah, that's it. We practice
and my
cursive
is so sloppy. It's so sloppy. But I talked about it on the episode before. It's so sloppy. But I appreciate the fact that we had to do it though.
We had to. There
was no choice.
You know, there's a running joke on social media. If you want to keep something away from the young kids now, write it in cursive. They can't read it. Oh my gosh.
They these kids now look at cursive like it's hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics, right? It's like it's written on a cave wall. They can't read it. You want to keep it away from the younger generation, write it in cursive. They cannot read it. Just like they can't drive a stick shift.
No. Yeah,
my next car gonna be a stick shift. I'm gonna leave the door unlocked all the time because they can't drive it. They can't steal it.
Hey, well, yeah, they definitely won't touch it. They definitely won't touch it. One thing before we get out of here, I want to talk about. You created a game.
I did.
Talk about this game that you created, and is the game for teachers or students or both?
It's for teachers.
Okay.
Because, unfortunately, teachers get a bad rap a lot of times for things, even though we're just doing our job, meeting our standards, meeting the goals of the district in the schools. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes people don't always understand teachers, but teachers understand teachers, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like you're in the business world, right?
Yes.
You understand the business world.
Yeah, very much.
You could probably teach me 1,000 things about business, and I can teach you 1,000 things about education. So this is my world. So I was on spring break last year, and the young lady that I was with, we were playing all of the games. We were playing Taboo. We were playing Give Me Your Black Card, Revoke Your Black Card. You were playing all the lyrically incorrect and all of those games. Right. So I was like, we need a game like that for teachers. And she was like, huh? I said, just questions and answers that we would know from a teacher's point of view. And we was shooting off different things and laughing. And she was like, this would be fun. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we started writing things and creating. And when we came back, we were doing it for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then life started lifing for her. And she was like, you can have it. Okay. It's yours. I'm like, okay. And I took it from there.
Wow.
So I have a game. If you would you like to play with me?
I can play it now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Of course, I got my game. I'm ready.
Okay.
So it's 9 categories, but the one that everybody is loving is TV shows and movies.
Let's do that.
So I give you 3 clues.
Okay.
And you have to tell me the TV show or movie dealing with education.
All right. So now listen, folks, this is live. We're doing this live. I have no idea what she's about to ask me. So you're about to see how smart I am, or maybe not.
Yes, you are, Kyle.
Oh, I know I'm smart. I mean, but I may stumble through this, but it's going to be fun.
Joe Clark, East Side High, Dear East Side.
That's Lean on Me.
Right. So think Taboo for teachers. I will give you the card, and the person with the most at the end wins.
Okay.
Books, colorful, LeVar Burton.
Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. Very good. There you go, Kyle. Okay. Arguments during segregation, Denzel Washington.
Damn. I see the movie. They were like debating.
Yeah, come on. Before that word.
The Great Debaters.
Very good.
There we go. Okay.
Good. And so I would give you the card and you do it. A couple more. Football during segregation, Denzel Washington.
Remember the Titans.
Right. One more. Lawrence Fishburne, Angela Bassett, Keke Palmer.
Wow.
Keke was a little girl.
When you said Lawrence Fishburne, Angela Bassett, I was thinking, what's love got to do with?
That's not educational, Kyle.
Now, Tina, we got to show it in San Antonio. We got to show it in Phoenix. We got to put some stank on that thing, Tina.
But see how the game can lead to jokes and other things you're thinking about? Because somebody said not Baby Boy, the other one. With Angela Bassett and
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood, yeah.
Okay, and Keke Palmer was in a movie.
She was a little girl.
Akilah the Bee?
Yeah.
Wow.
One more. Basketball, Lock the Gym Doors, Samuel L. Jackson.
Coach Carter.
Yeah.
I only know that because my sons have watched that movie 1,000 times.
I love it.
I don't even think I've ever sat through the whole movie, but they will watch that. And if they will just pull it up and like, hey, let's watch Coach Carter. I'm like,
it's so good, Kyle. You have to watch this movie.
I've seen it. I just hadn't sat through all of it, but I've seen it.
No, you have to sit down and watch it from beginning to end.
Okay, I'll do that.
It is a good basketball movie.
I'll do that.
It is very
my son will be proud of me.
Samuel is doing his thing.
He's incredible. He is incredible in that movie.
Samuel is doing his thing in the movie. So this is one of the categories with TV shows and movies, and I have 8 other categories from teacher during the pandemic, things teachers might say, things students might say, acronyms, fill in the blanks, etc.
Okay, and now tell folks what's the name of the game.
The name of the game is titled Teachers Night Out.
Okay.
It's on my website, Card Games, 4 Educators.
Okay, and I'll have that link in the show notes as well, so folks, you can click it and purchase the game. You don't necessarily have to be a teacher to get the game.
You do not have to be a teacher.
And if you're smart,
or you can gift it to your favorite teacher. Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up in a couple weeks, leading up to Mother's Day.
There you go. And if you're smart like me, you could play with your friends and everything like that.
Right, of course.
That is so dope. Before we get out of here, anything else you want to plug? Or maybe tell folks where they can find you, or I know you're building your social media.
I'm building my social media up. I'm on social media as Teacher Timeout _Rojack. My social media handles are rrojack, RHOJACK. On Instagram and TikTok is Teachers Night Out _Rojack. Okay. But come and follow me. I pretty much post teacher stuff, teacher jokes, teacher funny stuff, because we are our own little fraternity and sorority. We have to uplift and support each other. We still believe in education and helping the kids. We just need parents to help us along the way. And we need support from the community like back in the day. It does take a village. We need our village to be solid again.
Amen to that. Amen. And you're a huge sports fan.
Oh, basketball all day. I got the game on right here. I got the game on. I love basketball.
Huge basketball fan. And again, she's a proud SCSU alum. South Carolina State will win the MEAC next year.
All day. Did you?
Go ahead.
Why A&T got us coming to their homecoming to beat up on them?
I mean,
why they did that?
They're glutton for punishment, but we'll take
Absolutely.
care of that.
Absolutely. Y'all really thought y'all was going to do this?
I mean, I would love to go. So shout out to everybody listening or watching from North Carolina A&T. We'll see you at your homecoming.
We'll see y'all in October.
I think it's October 11th. We'll see y'all at your homecoming.
A week after our homecoming.
Yeah, exactly.
So after we beat Savannah State, we got to drive up to Greensboro and beat A&T.
Because our homecoming is the livest homecoming in America. Y'all know.
You already know. You already know. You already know. I don't know what a G-Ho is.
That's going to do it for us. So for my girl, Rojack, I am your boy, 12 Kyle. We want to thank you all for tuning in. Definitely appreciate the love. Make sure that you go and support. Again, the links will be in the show notes. Ro, thanks for coming through. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate this conversation and the opportunity. Next time, you got to bring me on so we can talk about education and hip-hop.
Say less, as the kids say. That's going to do it for us. I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.